Hey guys, welcome to a continuation video. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can create a pivot table and use it to display your data in an ordered way or to manipulate your data in a way that you deem fit. Now, the first thing you would need is a table with filters on it. So you should be able to filter through the various columns that you have. Alright, so once you have that table with the headers, you create a new sheet, and this new sheet will be where your pivot table will be. So you go to insert, you can click on recommended pivot table, which will try and generate a pivot table based on the templates that they have, or you can just create one, manually, which isn't hard. So then we would want to locate that table, so I'll be selecting here, and just to speak on this data a bit. I'm gonna say, okay, let's just go here. Let me speak on this data so you know what I'm working with. So we are basically looking at sales for a company that sells fruits. Now, the company has customers that it basically supply. So each one of these companies is a customer. So I'm gonna rename this as the customer because really and truly that's what they are, customers. All right. Now these are the customers. This is the customer ID that each customer has. We see where some customers appear multiple times. We also have the product that each customer bought and what unit they got it in. So was it a pack? Was it each? So when I say each, it means that it is a single. Is you can buy two, you can buy three of that single. But when it's times 20, it's a pack, and that means that for each pack, it contains 20. That's why the unit singles shows 40 while the unit case shows 2 because it's two cases of 20, which is equal to 40. And then we have the selling price for each item, and we have the net unit sales, which is basically the unit singles times the selling price. All right. So, all right. So let's go over to the table now. All right. So when we look to the right, we see where we have the various fields that we can now select and manipulate. So I'm going to pick the company. I'm going to place it on the row. So we see here. Let me just zoom a little bit. So we see here where the company is now under row. I can rename this to MERS. Or also, okay, so I made a change to the name to customers. Now, for that change to be reflected, you would need to refresh the data. So you can just go refresh and look, it is now says customers. All you do is just paste it back here. So just a rule to follow when you are making changes, ensure that one, you've saved the document, and two, before you proceed to go deeper into adding things into the pivot table, ensure that you refresh so that you don't end up, um, you know, causing a conflict or losing data on this side. You will always have the data over here, but in terms of it being able to manipulate over here, it may cause some issues. All right, so now we have customer, and now I want a value. So I want the net units, right? And this net units will basically give me a sum of each of the companies. So can I just rename this? Nice. Oops. Should be okay now. Alright, so now I have a sum of each of the companies. Alright. So the total is 57,490. Now if we go over to the data, so we want to actually make sure that this is the correct net sales that is actually coming back for each of these individuals. All right, so for first person, which is Adrian, right? He has okay, so he only has one instance of sales, so we can actually confirm that by selecting only Adrian's Bakery, and we see we only have one instance of sales. So we can go back to selecting all. Okay. All right, cool. So the data here is correct. And we can also add more to this data. So I want to see the unit cases. In fact, yeah, I want to see the unit cases and I want to see unit singles. Cases, unit singles. All right, so let me just go over here. Okay, this is general. Okay, cool. All right, so now we have a sum of the unit cases and the unit singles. And let's just query that to ensure that's the correct data. So for Zoom Limited, which got like four cases of an item, well, of items, it basically, and then a net unit singles of 80. Let's just check over on Zoom. Let's just get Zoom. Okay, so here it is. So Zoom had singles of 80 and it had four cases. So you come here, you see where that is also true. You want to unfilter this. Okay. All right. So the next thing you can also do with pivot table is that you can create filters that your users who are looking at this dashboard can manipulate. So I want to see customers. Oh, sorry about that. So I want to see by product, item. I want to say customer ID. Sorry, company ID. We should be customer ID, but you know what it is at this moment. All right. So now I can now narrow down. Sorry, I can now narrow down and say I always want to see banana. Right, so I can select all. No, I have all. Right, we can go even further to manipulate this by adding. We can okay. So let's insert. And then I'm going to put an invoice date table. Right? Invoice date. And I'm just gonna put some generic dates, right? So I'm gonna put like the 13th of the 4 20 4 2022. I'm gonna put, gonna also just duplicate this. All right. In fact, let me duplicate this here. Okay. All right. So now I have this added to the table, and as I said before, in order to have that reflected, but while I'm at it, let's just change this as well. The ID, right? Hit save. I typed in company ID again. I meant to say customer ID. Customer ID. All right. Let's go over here. Now, of course, we're not seeing that, so we can go to data. We can refresh all, and then we can add back this, and I want to also add invoice date. Of course, with invoice this, I can now filter through. But there's also something that we can also do with invoice date, which is to create a timeline or a filter. So I'm gonna right click and I'm going to add timeline. So now your users can basically manipulate the data. And I put 2022. Okay. So now users can manipulate the data and look at individual periods based on what was chosen. So let's go April with this. Okay, nothing went on that day. Nothing. I'm almost sure something went. Okay, so something did happen on April 1st. Um, if we go further down, of course, we can continue. I think most of the stuff were at the end of April. All right. So just showing how you can basically use the pivot table and these additional features, to manipulate your data in the way that you desire. All right. Thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I'll do more videos like this. Thank you for watching.